Today, we're going to go on a bit of a detective mission, looking for a kind of hidden architecture, a stunning symmetry that some researchers believe is woven deep inside the pages of the Quran. And it all really boils down to this one pretty mind-bending question. Could a book that's over 1,400 years old actually contain a mathematical design that's almost digital in its precision? All right, so where do you even start with something like this? Well, researchers began with a very simple idea. Let's find the very first time the word Quran is mentioned in the text itself. It's kind of like looking for that first crucial signpost. And boom, there it is. They found it at this coordinate, 2185. Now that just means it's in the second chapter, or surah, in the 185th verse. It's a specific, verifiable address.
Okay, so keep that number, 2185, in your head, because for the next piece of the puzzle, we have to jump all the way to the other end of the book to find the final time the word Quran ever appears.
And that last mention is right here, Surah 85, verse 21. I mean, this is a completely different part of the text. You'd think there's absolutely no connection between this location and the first one. So we've got our two coordinates, 185 at the beginning and 8521 at the end. On the surface, they just look like a couple of numbers, right? Random points on a map. But what if they're not random at all? What if there's a deliberate, hidden link? Okay, so let's just break down that first coordinate, 185. Let's forget about the chapter and verse for a second and just look at the digits themselves. We have a 2, a 1, an 8, and a 5. Now this is where it gets really interesting. What if you just flip them? Just completely reverse their order. So instead of 2185, you get 5, 8, 1, and 2. String those reverse digits together, and what do you get? The number 8521. And wait for it, if you put that colon right back in the middle where it would naturally go, it splits perfectly into 8521, the exact coordinate of the final mention. It's a perfect digital mirror. Just wow. So you might be thinking this is just some modern computer trick, right? Well, actually, this kind of analysis is part of a field of study with some pretty deep roots in Islamic intellectual history. It's called ijaz adadi, which basically translates to numerical miracle. The whole idea behind it is that these mathematical patterns aren't just incredible coincidences. Instead, proponents believe they're an intentional layer of divine design. And this is not a new idea at all. The source material points out that we're talking about scholars like the great Imam Fakhr al-Din al-Razi way back in the 1200s, who was noting these kinds of numerical symmetries in his own work. He clearly saw numbers as another facet of the text's wonder. Okay, but you gotta ask, was that mirror effect just a 1 in a million fluke? Well, researchers looked for other patterns, and what they found with another key term is, you could argue, just as fascinating. This time, they turned their attention to the Arabic word kitab. It's a hugely important word. It means the book, and it's used to describe the Quran itself, as well as scriptures that came before it. So check this out. The very first time kitab shows up, its coordinates are remarkably clean. It's in chapter 2, verse 2, and it's even the second word in that verse. So you have a 2, and a 2. If you just add those coordinates up, 2 plus 2 plus 2, you get the number 6. Now, according to the source paper, this isn't just a piece of trivia. The argument is that these numbers, the coordinates 2, 2, and that sum, 6, are actually acting like a signpost, pointing you directly to the next key place the book is mentioned. And where does it point? Right here, Surah 3, verse 3. You see that sequence? The pattern moves perfectly from 2, 2 right to 3, 3. So, okay, the numbers are connected, but the really crucial question is, are there meanings connected too? And this is where it all clicks. The first verse, at 2, 2, it simply names the thing. This is the book. But the next verse in that sequence, at 3, 3, it defines its function, that it was sent in truth, confirming what was before it. So the numerical pattern actually links the introduction of the term directly to its explanation. So when you see patterns like the perfect mirror of Quran and this sequential logic with kitab, what are you supposed to make of it? What do the people who study this stuff actually conclude? Well, the source paper argues these aren't just coincidences. They believe this is evidence for a few key things. First, divine authorship, suggesting a level of planning that's beyond human ability.
Second, perfect preservation, because if you changed even one word, these patterns would break. Third, a deep interconnection of meaning, showing how verses are linked structurally. And finally, that it's a way to emphasize key themes, like the authority of the book itself.
However, and this is a really big however, the source material is extremely clear that this entire field of study comes with a very important word of warning. There's a crucial line between good and bad practice here. Good practice is all about appreciation, seeing these patterns as a sign of the text wonder, something that complements traditional understanding. But poor practice is overinterpretation, what scholars call takalof, which is when you start forcing numbers to fit a theory. That's basically just numerology, and it's something scholars strongly warn against. And really, this quote from this source sums up the whole balance approach. The idea is that this kind of analysis should only ever complement and enrich the traditional understanding of the text. It should never replace it.
So we're left with this final, fascinating question. Are these patterns evidence of a breathtaking design, a kind of mathematical signature woven into the very fabric of a sacred text? Or are they a series of profound yet ultimately random coincidences? That is something to ponder.